Hey there, and welcome to an all-new Trendy and C Whiskey Talks. We've got something fun for you here today.
We think it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun
Sure
for
you
us.
will.
Well,
Yeah.
whatever, you're stuck here now.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about what's the oldest whiskey in the world.
Whoa.
And it kind of breaks into two categories, right?
Yeah.
You've got oldest whiskey aged in the cask, and then you've got like oldest whiskey that's just, it might be 10 years old, but it was distilled in 1851
And the bottle's been around forever.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got the top two from each category.
Mhm.
So oldest in the cask and just oldest in general here. So
So let's start. Why don't
Right.
we pour
Oh,
us a whiskey or two?
well, here on Trendy and C Whiskey Talks, we always drink whiskey while we talk.
Yeah,
and-
and it's definitely not the oldest.
This isn't the oldest one, but it's an older one for a bourbon. This is
Does
IW.
it have an age statement?
Yeah, it's IW Harper 15-year-old.
Oh.
So it's a 15-year-old bourbon. A lot of times with bourbon, you don't find it too much older than about 10 years old, but there are 20-year-old and whatnot plus bourbons, but
And it's rare for it to actually have an age statement in most bourbons anyway.
yeah,
So
a lot of bourbons are just straight.
excuse me.
Oh, is there a problem, sir?
I think there's a bit of a problem here.
There you go.
Okay, that's a bit better.
All right,
Okay, so
let's get into the list. So what do you want to start with?
we're gonna start with the oldest in the cask.
Okay,
That
so
we can
actually truly aged.
Yeah,
whiskey.
so we have two. We're gonna start with 70-year-old Mortlach
Wow.
that was ended up being bottled by Gordon and MacPhail. It was a 1938, bottled in 2008. I mean, when you're gonna buy these bottles, they gotta come in nice presentations and all that kind of thing. So it was a teardrop-shaped, hand-blown crystal decanter.
Wow.
And it sold for a grand total of $19,990.
That
That
honestly
seems like sort of reasonable.
seems like a steal for a 70-year-old whiskey.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not bad actually. So 70 years old. Just imagine, that was right during the Second World War.
it was like the
Well,
beginning,
just before,
right?
just before it. So I wonder if these guys, when they make them, they think, we're gonna actually release this in about 2008.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
like, they won't be around when we're alive.
Probably a few days after they distilled it, they figured that the world was going to end. So
Yeah, that's probably true. So, okay, so then, do you know who outdid themselves?
I do, but tell them.
Mortlach,
Oh,
or Mortlach. I don't know how, some people say things differently.
Sure.
I say Mortlach.
yeah.
Anyways, they decided to outdo themselves and put out a 75-year-old whiskey that was distilled in 1939 and then bottled in 2014.
But that was also Gordon and
That was
MacPhail.
a Gordon and MacPhail bottling as well. So
We've had some Gordon and MacPhail bottlings.
Yeah.
And they are delicious.
they are so good.
I can only imagine what a Mortlach 75-year-old whiskey would taste like.
Yeah, if anyone out there has any, just
We're accepting samples.
we are accepting samples. So yeah, so those are two of them, the oldest that was in a cask for a long period of time, 70 and 75 years.
I mean, wood. I was saying wood in a different sense, but when you think about it, the amount of wood that it would be exposed to, I wonder what that would bring through in the flavors. Like, would it be so oaky?
Well, I think like it's hard to say. So some of these bottlings may never be tasted because people buy them for the aesthetic of owning it.
Sure.
Where it could be the grossest thing you've ever tasted in your life. But you may never know.
That's what Mortlach was thinking. They're like, I hope nobody opens this because
Yeah.
it tastes like crap.
It's terrible.
It's been in there for 75 years. What do you expect?
Well, I mean, we just recently tried a 40-year-old Glenfarclas, and 40 years old is pretty old.
Yeah.
And it was delicious.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
And
so-
it was not overly woody.
No, it was
It
perfect.
was just right.
It was actually perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch categories to just like the oldest bottle
Okay,
that you can buy out there.
so I may be pronouncing this wrong, but it's the
Yeah, Glenavon, yeah.
Glenavon, except
Looks
it's
like
spelled
Glenavon.
Glenavon, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually a special kind of whiskey liqueur. And it was 1851. They figure between 1851 and 1858
Wow.
is when it was distilled,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also don't know a lot about it because there's not many records from when it was distilled or the who did it and everything.
The computers sucked back then.
The computers were terrible back then, yeah. But it was determined that John Smith
Yeah.
potentially did that. And John G. Smith was the distiller at Glenlivet during that time.
Right.
So there's kind of this debate that it might have actually been him.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind
So
of cool.
it could be a predecessor to Glenlivet or a satellite office of Glenlivet.
Exactly, yeah. That's what they were thinking back then.
Wow.
So yeah, John G. Smith at Glenlivet potentially did it. That bottle sold for 14,750 pounds.
Wow.
Which is actually still seems relatively reasonable.
So at the time, it was how old then?
Well, I don't think it ever said how old the actual spirit was. Like, it's just a bottle
But so the
that
bottle was from 1851.
Yeah, between 1851 and 1858, they figure.
Wow, so that's over 150 years old. That's like
It's pretty
way
old.
over. Yeah.
It's pretty old. Yeah.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah.
So what else do we got?
We got one more that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Glenlivet, the old vatted Glenlivet, to be exact.
Of course.
1862. Was sold at the Bonham's auction for $7,735.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah.
This is the one where they're gonna turn it into watches or something.
Yeah, there's nothing more that you could do with your whiskey than pour a drop
Right.
of whiskey into your watch to get the best use out of it.
Yeah, this one is owned by Louis Monet, some Swiss watchmaker.
Yeah.
And he's gonna drip the bottle into a bunch of watches.
Yeah, so you can own a little bit of some of the oldest whiskey around.
It's gonna be called the Whisky Watch.
Oh, clever name. Very clever name.
And you can buy the watch for like 14,000
Their
pounds.
marketing team went to no, no holds
But
barred.
like, what's the significance of having whiskey in your watch? Who gives a shit?
It's timeless.
Oh.
Or it ages,
it's
something
aging in the
to-
watch aged whiskey. It's a new
watch
thing.
aged whiskey. Yeah, it's really good.
Mm.
But so those watches
Right.
are selling for a reasonable 14,625 pounds.
Perfect. Let's
Which,
get a couple.
let's get a couple of those.
Why not?
And then, what happens if the watch breaks?
And
Like, do you
what if
crack it open and drink the whiskey?
the drop falls out?
Or the drop falls out, yeah.
What if it's really hot out and the drop dries up?
It probably would be, actually. Like, it just seems
It's just
so
whiskey,
pointless.
whiskey essence.
Seems very pointless.
Okay, well that's our list.
Pretty good list.
Let's talk a little bit about aged whiskey.
Yeah, like, for example, like some of these guys, they knew they weren't going to be around or alive when they're
Sure.
going to bottle something 75 years later.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, right now, it's 2018.
Right.
And that would mean, just some quick math, 2093 would be 75 years old.
So if we distilled a whiskey right now and decided we were going to age it for 75 years,
Yeah,
it would be 2093.
that's crazy. We would be 111 years old.
Disappointing. We're not going to make it.
Technology could,
We could get cryogenically frozen
yeah, something like that.
until
Or
our whiskey is ready.
maybe they'll discover that whiskey is the essence of life or something, and
Ah.
it's like pickling us right now.
Yeah.
In that case, bottoms up.
Yeah. How old is too old for whiskey though?
I think too old is probably when it tastes like shit,
Mm-hmm.
or when it costs way too much.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know.
most of those are already well out of our price range.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we went to all expenses on this
On
one.
the
That's what we
IWR,
did.
yeah, we've maxed out.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is the kind of crap that we do on Whiskey Talks. Talk about old whiskey, talk about expensive whiskey. Sometimes we don't even talk about whiskey.
No, but we always drink whiskey.
We always drink whiskey.
Yeah.
And you should always drink whiskey too.
Mm-hmm. So in the comment section below, why don't you guys tell us?
What's the oldest whiskey you've had?
Exactly. Or one that you've, it could be, like a Glenlivet 12-year-old that you've just had in your cupboard for 50 years.
Oh, I found a musty, dusty old Glenfiddich, remember?
Yeah, that was cool.
Glenfiddich pure malt.
Yeah, pure malt. Yeah, that was cool. That was
Grandma's
cool.
cupboard.
It was old to us.
Yeah, and it was already opened like in 1990. So.
Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine has a George Dickel from, I believe, the 1940s.
No, we should review that.
Yeah, we should probably get our hands on that. Okay, anyways, thank you for watching. Subscribe, click like. Give us some topics that you want us to, ramble on about someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Cheers.